quite the audience. Of course, I'm a little bit nervous because this is my first TEDx. And I'm hoping that these nerves can be transformed into something impactful. We're often taught to look at bad situations as the end. But what if I told you that how you approach that situation redefines your experience? Now, growing up in a typical Ghanaian household, we had an idea of what success looked like: a medical doctor, a lawyer, an architect, a banker. But here is the problem. What I wanted to do was to sew. Now, to a very respected medical doctor, the idea of his daughter being a seamstress was extremely unthinkable. And I'm sure majority of you here in this room can relate to it. If I'm to do a survey here in this room, I'm sure half of you seated here are simply here because either your father asked you to be here, your mother did, or family pushed you into a space you didn't want to be in. I was thrown into the unfamiliar. I wasn't just going to study medicine. I was going to study medicine in the People's Republic of China. In China. Can you imagine that? I had to learn to survive before I could succeed. I failed exams. I had to retake exams. I had to learn a new language. And that was not easy for a girl 16, 17 years old. As if that was not enough, returning to Ghana, I had to write the licensure examination. Now here is where it gets tricky. My father was no ordinary medical doctor. He was the registrar of the Ghana Medical and Dental Council. Now, if you know what that means, you'd understand that a sister had to really prove herself. I wasn't just proving that I could be a doctor, I had to prove that I deserved to be there, and that I wasn't riding on anyone's name. I had three choices: to be angry, to resent, and say that I didn't want to do it. The second option was to quit. And to be honest, that was the most logical thing to do. Because after all, being a medical doctor is something I didn't want. Or the third option, to redefine being a medical doctor meant. If I had to be a medical doctor, it had to be on my terms. I had to redesign how I wanted to show up. And so today, I'm going to tell you the story about lemonade. Now, this is not a story to encourage toxic positivity or blind endurance, but to challenge you to see bad situations as a starting point. It's okay to be upset. It's okay to be angry. It's okay to feel like you've been abandoned. But then, what next? What are you going to do after you have overcome those fears? But before I begin, this is a screenshot of a message between me and my dad. Sometime in 2018, he mockingly calls me Professor Lemon, simply because he says, when daddy gives you lemons, you make lemonade. And that is what I kept telling him, that the lemons he gave me, I have turned to lemonade. And so, we talk about lemon. The lemon roadmap. L, label the facts. No sentiments, no fears, just the facts. For me, my fact was I was a young girl. I was in medical school. I was afraid, and I did not want to do medicine. Extract the lesson. With every situation, there's always a lesson to be learned, so long as you avail yourself to it. Ask yourself, what is this situation trying to teach me? You might not be where you want to be in this moment, but there is a lesson to be learned from there. Being in medical school taught me discipline. It taught me how to show up and work under pressure. It taught me and built muscles that I didn't even know exist. But today, those muscles are what allows me to be confident, to lead, and to be an advocate. Medicine didn't become my cage. It became a pathway for me to progress. M, map out the opportunities. Just like a coin has two sides, every situation also has two sides, the good and the bad, the lesson and the opportunity. Now, after you have overcome the lesson, strategically look out for what the opportunity in that situation is, and you map it out. Be intentional about the possibilities that situation has. For me, it was being in spaces that I didn't want to be. I found myself in hospitals, on panel discussions, and in male-dominated fields. Own one action. What we like to do is to wait until everything is perfect before we can move. But the thing about success is steady, intentional, consistent growth is what takes you to where you are expected to be or where you envision yourself to be. So own one action. Is it that you want to have extracurricular activities? What is it you want to do? Own that action, build on it, and become perfect at it. Now, you next level it. Now, this is where lemonade is made. What you choose to do with the opportunity that has been presented to you is where the lemonade is made. Today, I stand confident, I stand bold. I find myself in male-dominated spaces. I find myself on panel discussions. And I graduated as the youngest doctor in 2015, a crown I held for 6 years. I would say I'm extremely proud of myself, and that is my message to you today. It's not going to be easy, but your approach, how you redesign your narrative, makes the difference. Lemonade is a decision. Lemons truly don't ask to be sour, but that lemonade is your decision. You can add flavors to it. How you want it to be, extra sour, more sweet. You can add strawberries, raspberries, or even some mint. Show up in a space that you did not choose, but show up well. So what are you going to do with the lemons that have been presented to you? Thank you.